At the Baxter Theatre Centre, chatting to Pieter Dirk-Uys, the legend in South African theatre, a bit about Desperate First Ladies, his show that's on at the moment. Welcome, Peter. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us here on Between 10 and 5.
Okay, nice to be here.
Now, before we get chatting a bit about the show, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words? I mean, we've seen so many documentaries on who you are and read up so much, but a bit about who you are from your own mouth.
From my own mouth, well, it's nice. It's a mouth without lipstick on because there are lots of people who jump out of my mouth when I'm on stage. Um, I am 65, yes, 65, and I live in a place called Darling, and I've been unemployed since 1975, which means that I have become my own job. I've got to do it myself, which is the best control you have without being a control freak. Um, and I am a terminal optimist, suffering from the disease to please, which I'm trying to cure.
Fantastic. Now, why don't you tell us a bit about Desperate First Ladies? What inspired the show?
Well, I've been doing ladies in my chorus line for a long time. What I find interesting is people find it difficult to describe it with words. I mean, they say, you do drag. Well, it's not that, but I understand that. Or you're a transsexual, or you're transvestite, as you're amorphy. And I just smile because no, I'm an actor. You know, if I performed a tree, would you call me a forest? I love the idea of challenging an audience by changing in front of their eyes. I think that's what the theatre has to offer. We don't use computers. We don't use press send and change. We don't. We just have to focus on being real. And so, when I do Evita Besaidnet, I've got to be so careful to do her properly that the women recognize the woman and the men forget the man. So Desperate First Ladies is a collection of all my creatures that I've had since 1975. Noel Fine, Mother Teresa, who is also the First Lady of Heaven. She's the one who stands at the pearly gates to make sure the South Africans don't steal the pearly gates. And of course, Grace Mugabe. Mrs. Gaddafi has joined the chorus line. Angela Merkel with her terrible hair. But it's also a reflection of the power behind the throne, the first lady behind the first man. And I also think that our society is very traumatized at the moment. People are frightened. They're not sure what to think. They're not sure if they're allowed opinions. They're scared of getting angry and using the wrong words. And they need to laugh at their fear. Because if you laugh at your fear, you can't be that frightened of your fear. You've laughed at it. It's still lethal. Julius Malema is not the Antichrist. He is a very strong and clever young South African who sees the gap. The problem here is our leadership in government, and they're not leading. So let us lead by example, by laughing at their faults, but mainly laughing at ourselves. And that's where the fun is. And so that's Desperate First Ladies. It's not always desperate. They're not always ladies, but some of the jokes, hopefully, are the first that the people have heard for a long time.
Your work is predominantly satire. What draws you to the genre?
Well, satire is a very broad umbrella that covers a multitude of things. There are many definitions. The old classic definition of satire is tragedy plus time equals satire. During apartheid, there was no time. The tragedy of the morning had to be on stage in the evening. When you look at American television, and you remember a TV show called MASH, which was about the Korean War, but it was actually about the Vietnam War. But because Korea was further back in history, people could feel free to laugh. Today, again, I think satire has got many branches. I like to have a definition which is 49% anger, 51% entertainment. And it is political, and it is social, and I can't tell jokes very well, so I don't tell jokes. But the truth is funnier. The politicians are my script writers. I keep on saying, if they don't like being laughed at, they can always resign and go away. And we won't laugh at them. But the bad ones need to be laughed out of their jobs because they are appalling liars, and they're thieves, and they're cuck. And they've got to go. And we know who they are, but they're also good ones. It's very important to get the balance. We support good work in politics, good work in the civil service, good work in the police, good work in the education system. We are aware that there are very bad teachers, and we hope they go away very soon. Take your pension and retire at the age of 25. So satire actually is a difficult thing to explain in 2011. The world is mad. In the 60s, when the world was relatively sane, we needed the clown to focus on the madness in politics. So satire was like crazy. Now the world is crazy, so satire's got to be pretty normal. One has to suddenly look at what you do on stage, and the audience is going to say, "Oh, I see. Can we do it? Is it that simple? I mean, you don't have a purple nose and green hair. No, 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 no. It's very much in the eye of the beholder today." And I hope everybody's offended at least once, but not all the time.
Now, how do you pick and choose what material you're going to use in your pieces?
It's about structure. It's about balance. I mean, I usually start with about 30 items, mainly items that really upset me, and I try to think, how can I solve it? Or how can I reflect it in a way that people will be listening? You can't shout at an audience, they go home. You can't go, "Listen, you better listen to me," because otherwise, we get that all the time. So you've got to entertain them, you've got to make it relatively funny. Sometimes it's not funny at all. AIDS is not funny. But denial, hypocrisy, and that ludicrous thing of saying, "Oh, it can't happen to me," is funny. So I have to find the balance and also see, I start in the high-heeled shoes. Do I go into socks? What do I do with socks if I'm going into high-heeled shoes? Do I do a woman now and a man? And I do black people, I do colored people, I do white people. So I've got to find a balance technically. So that's got a lot to do with choosing subject matter. But hopefully each item has an up inflection, meaning you have hope that things can get better or that things won't get worse.
If you had to quickly sum up why people should come and see Desperate First Ladies, how would you do that?
Well, frankly, there are two things in the world that are live: theatre and the church. And the church has one up on theatre, because in church they say, if you don't come to church, you go to hell. Now I say to you, if you don't come to the theatre once in a while, you stay sane. So come to Desperate First Ladies.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us here on Between 10 and 5. It's been great having you here, and all the best of luck for the rest of the run. You're showing here at the Baxter Theatre until the 1st of October.
And on the 24th of September, Heritage Day, Saturday, 2 special shows at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock of Kuni and Evita. Kuni de Villiers with his music, and Evita Besaidnet with her IQ and dresses.
Fantastic. And quickly, if people want to find out more about what's happening in the world of Tannie Evita and Pieter Dirk-Uys, website that we can visit, Twitter handle?
Yes, the Evita se Perron in Darling is evita.co.za. My one is pdu.co.za. And Tannie Evita's on Twitter, which is at Tannie, big T, Evita, big E, at Tannie Evita. She's got 11,000 followers. And if you're one of the followers, tell your friends and come and follow. See what happens.
Great. Thank you so much.
Good.